Well, we could talk about market gardening and its potential to save the world, but let's talk song. This video is going to be an analysis of Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time, an 80s classic that everybody knows and loves. Today we are going to pay special attention to the song structure, because I found out that the song is actually a masterclass in song structure if you look at it carefully. We are going to look at the verse and how it perfectly serves its function, at the transitional bridge and some odd numbers. Then we're going to look at the chorus where everything suddenly makes sense. Let's get going. Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you, caught up in... We're going to start not with the first section of the song, but with the verse. Verse number 1 is lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. In terms of lyric writing, we see some excellent choices here, because already the first line answers a lot of the so-called W questions. So the W questions being who, what, when, where, maybe even why. No. Who, what, when, where. Who, I hear the clock tick and think of you. So they haven't got names, but we know that it's a first-person narrative, and this first person talks to another you. We have got a pretty clear where, lying in my bed. And we haven't really got a when. However, we've got the first reference to the topic of the song, which is time, time after time, because it says, lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. In terms of what happens? Well, we get a very clear image of boredom, of nostalgia, of having nothing better to do, of thinking about another person. Musically, this is underlined quite nicely with a 2-chord progression, or even 1 chord if you will, because it's 2 chords over the same pedal note. This is all there is when it comes to chords in the verse. So we have got this D minor shape over the C as a pedal note that then goes to regular C major chord. D minor shape over C, and then C major chord. The harmonic rhythm is the very, very well-known Bon Jovi. So, dotted quarter note and anticipated second downbeat. And it's all there is, actually. If we remember what the topic of verse number 1 is, boredom, nostalgia, having nothing to do, then this very simplistic chord progression makes perfect sense. Let's look at the melody. The melody basically underlines that simple chord progression. So we've got the same motif 3 times in a row, D and C, which is basically the root notes of the chords that are being played. And the variation at the end is we land on the E. This is really it in terms of melody. And of course, this very small range, again, adds to the prosody of what the lyrics actually want to say. I'm lying in my bed, I've got a confined space, which is why I'm only singing in a very, very small range. What I think is another great example of prosody in verse number 1 is the caught up in circles phrase. That is the beginning of the second line. So we have got lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you. This was the first phrase. And now we've got caught up in circles, confusion is nothing new. Not only is caught up in circles another reference to the title Time After Time, but also it gets represented quite nicely in the melody, because it's always the same, caught up in circles, and we always have got this D to C movement in the melody. Verse number 2, in terms of lyrics, is sometimes you picture me, I'm walking too far ahead, so far so okay. You're calling to me, I can't hear what you've said. Now, Miss Lauper, let's talk sentence stresses. You're calling to me, I can't hear what you've said. You're calling to me. I can't hear what you've said. Call me, hear said. What Cyndi says is, you're calling to me, I can't hear what you've said. So here we've got a perfect example, even in this Champions League category of songwriting, that sometimes established melodic rhythms and melodic patterns can lead us to mistakes in lyric writing, because suddenly we are so focused on this melodic stress that we forget the word stresses. Not the perfect verse, let me tell you this. Verse number 3 is okay again. After my picture fades and darkness has turned to grey, watching through windows you're wondering if I'm okay. Even with this little nice alliteration, watching through windows you're wondering, so 3 W sounds in this second line of the third verse. In general, we can say that the verses serve a clear purpose. The purpose of every verse should be to set the scene, to tell a story, and here we can see how this is applied quite nicely. The second big section of the song is the transitional bridge. The first transitional bridge goes like this. Flashback, warm nights, almost left behind. Suitcase memories, time after. And then it goes on with the second verse. Now what we find here in terms of harmony, let's look at this first, is F and G, E minor, back to F. Again with the Bon Jovi rhythm that we've already established in the verse. Dotted quarter note and then anticipated second downbeat, but only in the first progression. The second progression is F, G, and land on E minor, car with engine running but still parked. If you have no idea what I'm talking about with the car, I'm sorry, but you have to buy the almost but not quite complete guide to songwriting, sorry. This second time around we see F, G and E minor, but not anticipated, so all on the beat. Then we've got the anticipation again. And then we kind of foreshadow what comes later, which is the chorus and the hook line, but only half of it. Time after. And the chords behind it are F and a voicing of G. I've picked this one. A G sus voicing, maybe even F major over G, which is a great transition to verse number 2. So sometimes you picture me. And of course this time after sometimes is a nice wordplay. Melody. Melody, again, quite simple because it's basically just the fifths of the chord. So, C being the fifth of F major. Then when we go to G major, we sing the D. When we go to E minor, we sing the B. And when we go back to F, we sing the D again. Flashback, warm nights. Then it's a bit looser melodically. Almost left behind. Nice bit of prosody here because it's left behind and we start the phrase after the downbeat. Almost left behind, right? Suitcase of memories. And then we've got this time after, and even this time after time is after the time, is after the downbeat. Time after. Two more things that I'd like to talk about when looking at transitional bridge number 1, because another bit of prosody is the fact that this transitional bridge has a Lydian vibe to it. Lydian is the 4th stage degree of the scale, in that case the F major chord, which gets a lot of prominence. And the prosody behind it is that the lyrics are flashback, warm lights, and so on. So somebody is remembering something, somebody is getting into a dream world, and what better mode than the Lydian mode to take us into a dream world, something that we've already seen, for example, when analyzing Lizzie McAlpine's Ceilings. The second thing left for the transitional bridge is its uneven number of bars. So we have got 7 bars in total, which is quite great if you want to build suspense and if you want to create a feeling of uneasiness and of unbalance, of literal unbalance. So we've actually got 7 bars, this 7th bar being this time after that then goes to verse number 2. So it's a perfect way to build tension and to kind of do something unexpected in the transitional bridge. The second transitional bridge after verse number 2 changes lyrics and now goes like this. Then you say, go slow, I fall behind. So again, prosody, I fall behind, and that's why I'm not starting on the downbeat but later. The second hand unwinds. So what's missing here is this 7th bar. Still, we've got 6 bars. That is kind of unusual and builds tension towards the chorus. Now, the line, the second hand unwinds, is apparently also about the watch, right? With the second hand unwinding, and you have to wind it and have to repair the clock, you have to repair the watch, you have to kind of set back the time, and it's another very cool reference to the title of the song. Transitional bridge number 3 in terms of lyrics is secrets stolen from deep inside. The drum beats out of time. And this time itself is out of time. The drum beats out of time. So we've got an anticipation, and again, very nice prosody because the drum beats out of time, and that's why we anticipate stuff. Part number 3, the chorus. Of course, the function of every chorus is to be the climax of the song, to present the hook line, and also to include some repetitive elements that people can actually memorize and sing. The chorus goes like this. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me, time after time. If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting, time after time. And sometimes it repeats, sometimes it doesn't. In terms of chords, we have got G, A minor, deceptive resolution. So from the 5 to the 6 minor is called deceptive resolution. 5, G, 6 minor. And a very popular cadence, which is the 4-5-1. In that case, F, G, and C. G, A minor, F, G, interesting voicing, but still G, and C. So at the end of the chorus, we resolve to our major C, which is the key of the song, by the way. I haven't mentioned that before. 4, 5, and 1. Very conventional resolution at the end. And again, it makes sense when we look at the lyrics, because it says, if you're lost, you can look and you will find me, time after time. So it's very reconciliatory, is that a word? Reconciling. And if you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting, time after time. So everything's going to be okay, because the chords tell us that. The chords tell us that everything's going to be okay. Now again, we've got some stress issues. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Here we see that the will and the me get unnecessary stress. In my opinion, the phrase should be pronounced, if you're lost, you can look and you will find me. So find is, in my opinion, the most important word in that phrase. However, the stress is, you will find me. Even worse, if you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. No, it's if you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. Something that she does in an ad-lib variation of the phrase, because she already realized that something was off with that phrase, but still they kept it there. If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. It should be, I'll be waiting. Again, put the stress on the correct syllables if you don't want to be a zombie. The melody of the chorus is still very repetitive, but higher. So again, we've got a 3-time repetition of a phrase. Then variation. Then time after time, which is of course the hook line of the song, that gets repeated a lot. I think this is it. We've seen how important it is to pay special attention to the individual parts of the song. So verse tells a story and sets the scene. Transitional bridge is always a bit unbalanced and builds up towards something new. Chorus, ultimate climax of the song, highest note saved there, and includes the hook line, in that case time after time, and it makes sense to call your song time after time. I guess this is it. If you've liked this, as always, make sure to leave me the thumbs up, to subscribe to the Let's Talk Song channel if you haven't done yet, to leave me comments and to suggest songs that you would like me to analyze. As always, it's a great pleasure to be able to do this with you. Thanks to Henning Pauli for sharing his studio with me. I guess we've talked song. You can talk about market gardening and its potential to save the world now. I am in my bed, I hear the clock tick and think of you, caught up in